Hello and welcome to today's episode of Road to Becoming a Natural Bodybuilding Pro. And today's obviously like, ooh, my window's open. All right. Today's episode is a quick one. Basically, it's the off season, so not much has changed. But one thing is that it's definitely really hard to stay focused on what it takes to do a correct off season. Initially, I just kind of thought it would be just sticking to the macros and continuing. But I find that without a fixed deadline goal to work towards, I find it really hard to sort of lock in and focus because like there's no intense cardio for me to do or anything for me to say that I'm actively working towards to keep me on track with the goal. So I'm really struggling with that side of things because whatever I do, by the time the show comes next year, I know I'll lock in like from 4 months or from 6 months out to make sure that I get staged ready. And I know that the main focus should be to be able to lock in for this period so that the next time that I do prep, it's one, a lot easier, but two, I come in looking much better than how I did this year for this show. But because it's something I'd never done before, it's really hard for me to program it properly and make sure that I'm doing the right things day in, day out. So right now, I'm just trying to manage that, and I think another way to actually be able to manage that properly is to do check-ins. Like basically what I do, what I require for my clients, basically do that for myself to make sure that I'm 100% locked in to the process. So rather than thinking about not being close to the end goal, just thinking about making sure the process is dialed in every single day, and then let the result show itself over time. The goal for the meantime is still to get to 94 kg or 95 kg basically by the around November, and that way I know that at any point I'll be ready to get onto stage. So basically, as I get to 94, I'll be aiming to maintain that for basically up until the point where I need to then prep for a show, and then I only need to lose about 6 kg in total. But yeah, that's about like the general status update. In terms of shows, I still basically plan to do the WMBF one in like next year. I'm assuming it's going to be around the same time as always. It's a shame that they don't have an earlier show in the year, so I might actually compete at some of the UK, well, the Drug Free Bodybuilding Association shows as a pro in their division, and just to basically get my feet wet or do like a first time show, but or do a pro debut show, even though it's not like a WMBF pro. But the thing is, right now I have a flawless record, and I don't want to lose, basically. And if I think about in terms of what I'll be prepared for when it comes to time to actually compete, I'll be better prepared for a show in October than a show in July or something like that. Just because I'll have more time to be in shape, or I'll spend more time in shape than overall than if I was to compete in July. But these are uncharted territories. I don't really know what I'll look like when I get to be able to compete on the pro stage. So, for example, being when I get to 94 for the first time without being in prep, and then what I'll look like when I am in contest shape, basically. Speaking of which, I was looking through some of my old pictures before, just like from prep compared to where I am now, and it's such a drastic difference because obviously my my face is a lot more filled in, but just muscularity wise, it's really surprising me every time I look back at the videos. Like, oh, wow, actually, I was actually quite massive. And now, it was obviously I'm not small or ridiculously out of shape or anything like that, but I'm just not this. But it's kind of crazy to think at that time I was kind of walking around near enough to this. But that's the goal for this phase, to sort of get to that point where I'm always ready to be basically be able to step on stage with about 3 months of prep and 3 months of easy prep too. Right now, I'm still not doing any cardio, even though I sort of get the urge to kind of go for a run or something like that. But I don't want to get into the habit of not of doing something unsustainable and then trying to, well, having to overcompensate for it in terms of how I recover. So maybe it's more calories, or then I'm not doing as much steps the following day, which isn't really the case. I'm not really like, I don't struggle to get 15k steps, but because I know it's not something I can maintain, or it's not even something I want to maintain, it's not a habit I want to take into prep. Like I don't want to have to run to do full cardio when I'm in prep. I kind of want to really instill these good habits now, so that the hardest, kind of prep I need to do is just, let's say, for instance, 15 minutes of cardio 5 days a week. That would be like, that's the sort of level of condition I want to be at before even getting into prep. So it's really hard because I just can't. This is a goal that I can't sprint to, and I have to treat it like a marathon. But it's not a marathon in the sense of like I'll do it when the time comes. It starts from now, and having to constantly just keep my legs moving as I'm pursuing it. So it's really, like I said, it's a new ground for me. I even considered the thought of getting a coach just to help me do the off season part, but then there's something in my head that really wants me to understand this skill and learn it myself and figure it out. And just, there's so much more. I feel like there's so much more pride in being able to do something like this by myself and take myself through it and kind of see myself through on the other end of it. And I've also kind of started my journey in that sort of line of thinking as well, where it's like I'm doing this all by myself, figuring it out by myself, and the result I get at the end is all thanks to me. So I feel like if I get a coach at any point leading up to it, then it's not, I'm not really holding up to that. But yeah, I mean, I don't like, I personally don't like, I'm not, sorry, eyelash. Anyway, I'm not in the position where I really want to get a coach or think I can't do this without a coach. It's just, I kind of want to take the pressure off myself and kind of put it in someone else's hands. But at the same time, the other side of me is like, nah, I got it. So I need to see that part through and really commit to only relying on myself to get through this from start to finish. Calories are pretty much still like during the week. This is the game. This is the aim. And then on the weekends, I basically at the moment eat whatever. Still technically in the productive fitness phase. I'm not planning to go on any sort of growth phase, anything like that. And yeah, just keep on. Well, the focus for this coming week is basically just to dial in my nutrition so that on the weekend I can eat whatever I want. Because what's happening during the week is I kind of just like do whatever at the moment. Like as I'm going in between thoughts of, the off season, I can do whatever I want, or like it's the off season, so there's nothing for me to sprint at. I'm a bit more chilled. I need to constantly remind myself that this is something that it needs to be a day-to-day effort or day-by-day effort, so that when it comes to time to actually prep or to make sure that the goal I've set for myself in November is actually achievable. Because right now I just have that number down, like 95 down for November as a loose goal, but I don't. If I'm not able to reach it, it will be quite annoying. But I haven't set myself any specific reason for why to achieve it. It's just that that's the soonest I can make it happen, basically. Anyway, that being said, focus this week, lock in, make sure the weekends are reasonable, and then have a day-to-day check-in with myself to make sure that I'm actually moving towards a goal. All right, that's it. Bye.